I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but with only 4 weeks left until I can get back on the bike, and my bike being in this muddy state, I think it's about time that I start getting the bike ready and getting things in place so that I can get back on this thing. It's nice and fresh and dialed, ready for a shreddy. In the hot seat today, we've got my e-bike, the All Mountain 7, and it's covered in mud, as you can see. The reason for that, although I'm not riding, we had to go take some photos of the bike. We've had a load of rain in the UK, surprise, surprise, and it come back in this state. And I just think that with my riding, the time I can ride rapidly approaching, it needs sorting out. Anyway, it had been a hard summer riding, and it's going to be really hard on the bike once I get back on it. So it needs to be in tip-top condition. I need to know that it's working and dialed. And I thought, what better chance to share some maintenance tips and show you how I prepare it than to document it for a YouTube video. It's also perfect timing because Muck-Off just released a brand new e-bike kit, which has all of the tools and potions that you need to make sure your bike is in tip-top condition, because they're expensive, these bikes, and like anything in life, it's super important to look after your stuff. Right, let's drop straight in then to the cleaning process. So first thing I need to do is clean the chain, but with an e-bike you can't pedal them backwards, so I need to put the bike upside down and get rid of some of that grime. The drivetrain area of an e-bike is so important to keep clean and dialed, because obviously the bikes put a lot more stress through the pedals and the chain and all that, so if it's like rusty and not good, then it's just such a weak point. Get rid of all of that dirt because it's just unwanted. And I always do this, well, you should do this first, because then when you come to cleaning when you jet wash it off, it gets rid of all the grime and stuff. Goodbye old dirt and rubbish, you're not wanted. I think pressure washing bikes is quite a controversial topic, especially e-bikes. Like, they are expensive and there's a lot of electrical components and technology within the motor there, but they are safe to pressure wash. I mean, I was just blasting mine. This is a low pressure bike pressure washer anyway, so it is the specific tool for the job. But besides that, these can withstand the water. I mean, you go out, you splash in puddles, you ride in the rain and they get soaked, so why wouldn't it be able to take a good wash and a good clean? That is so good. Make sure I get in all them little nooks and crannies. There we have it, the bike is now shining bright like a diamond once again, and it's now time to actually dry it up and go over it. So we've been interrupted whilst filming this about 3 or 4 times with rain. We're going to go hide in the workshop, we don't need to be out here, so let's get this packed up and get in the dry. I think earlier today I stumbled across a bundle of joy. So when I was out taking these photos of the beast, I was in a zone where I've not really explored too much, and shame on me for not exploring it really, because what I come across is the perfect e-bike area. I'll explain it. So there was a little stream, and it was deep enough, or it was shallow enough, sorry, that you could ride in it, and the banks weren't too steep, but they were nice and slippy, so it'd present some really fun like trialsy challenges on the e-bike. And that whole area was surrounded with some sort of off-piste slopes that no one had ridden, and funny little trails and routes and tracks which would create some really fun like trially lines for the e-bikes. So the reason I got so excited is because I love riding that kind of stuff, Dad loves riding that kind of stuff, Cara not so keen, and my brother has an e-bike, and I think that a challenge video on that would just be the best day out and laughter and video in the world. So I think that'd be one of the first ones that I film when I get back on the bike. But for now, we're not going to get too carried away. We're going to focus on cleaning. We've come inside, we're in the dry, and the next step is to use the MO94 spray, which disperses of moisture. So where we've just had well, it's been raining and pressure washing the bike, we're going to spray this here and get all the moisture out of the bearings and places that we don't want water to be sitting. If you've ever had squeaky brakes, which quite a lot of people do, then it's probably done cleaning your bike, most likely, because you end up, if you're not careful, with spraying products on it and you end up contaminating your brakes. That's why I've got these disc brake covers on there, because it's such a common mistake, and you hear people on the trails and their brakes, oh, and they don't know why, and it's probably because you've contaminated them accidentally. But any fluid or anything, even like a bit of overspray of something on your discs, will eventually end up on the pads and just ruin your braking surface. I'm just going to give the bike a little wipe now, dry it up. Look at the shine on that sprocket. It's so rewarding when you polish your bike up and it comes out looking like that. This next spray that I'm using is called HCB1, and it's basically an anti-corrosion defense. It's super powerful. It lasts for up to 12 months once you use it, and it basically just stops all the grit and the grime that builds up through the winter, damaging your bike. Especially on the motor, I think this is quite important because it's just going to stop anything from sticking to it. And I've just noticed what I'm missing in the Dream Garage on the floor. A floor mat, because that's now an ice rink. I'm going to use an e-bike wet lube. Like I say, in your chain care is so important with an e, because it's under a lot more stress. I mean, chain care is important anyway. No one wants a snap chain because it means an over the bars. And with an e-bike, putting all that power through it, when you're sending huge hill climbs, you just need to be on top of it really. Make sure it's as good as it can be. The bike is now clean, I'm stoked, and that little cleaning session was all using products from the new Ultimate e-bike kit by Muck-Off, which, like I say, I've left the link in the description, because there's every product you need in the summer and winter to take care of your pride and joy. But the maintenance doesn't end there, because I want this beast to be refined and squeaky clean and ready for a shreddy once I can get back. So we're going to start off by checking the gears work. Let's send it down the gearbox then and check everything's working the way it should be. If it's nice and new clean and it's lube, it should be the dream. And that's satisfying, that is. Oh no, it's just one gear at the bottom there. Bit of cable tension, so we're going to adjust that by just tightening this a little bit up here. There we go, half a twist on the cable, and that made a difference. So I'll explain how that works. If you're struggling to come down the gears, like into the higher one, harder to pedal one, then you just need a tiny bit more cable tension, and then when you're going back up the gears, you do the opposite, so you go the other way. But this should be working good. They actually weren't serviced that long ago by the one and only Rob Webb at Muck-Off, so if there's any problems now, then it's Rob's fault. But there isn't. What a dream. So the gears are working good. Whilst we're at the back of the bike, I'm just quickly going to check my spoke tension. Make sure they're all nice and tight. Feel those big whips and sideways landings which are pending. And I'm going to check that my tyre, firstly, isn't damaged, and secondly, has got sufficient tread, because we are going into winter, the time when you need maximum traction in the gunk. And that looks to be really good. I run big wide tyres all year round anyway, because I've got the e-bike. I don't really notice the drag, and it just means I have ultimate grip all year round. From the back of the bike, we've come up to the front now, and I'm just going to check that all the bolts and stuff are nice and tight. And whilst I'm here, just check the headset for any play and make sure that it's operating nicely and nice and smooth, which it is. The bike's not actually that old, so the bearings and stuff should be okay in it, but obviously if you check your bike and there is a problem, then you can either grease the bearings or just simply replace them. Whilst I've got an Allen key in my hand, I'm just going to go over the whole bike and check that everything that should be tight is nice and tight, like your brake calipers, all your linkages, your sprockets. Check the wheel bearings for any play and just have a little look at things like that really. Whilst you're at the back of the bike, I'm just going to check that the brake pads are in a good condition really, because brakes are quite important. I've checked all the bolts, they're all nice and tight. We've checked the tyre treads, we've checked the wheels, we've checked the bearings. We're now about to check the pressures of the suspension and of the tyres. Perfect, 150 psi in there, so that's dial 9 psi. It's a good job I checked that, because that definitely needs blowing up. Gone for 30 psi in there because it's probably quite hard, and I'm not really going to be riding big jumps straight away, I don't imagine, but just being a dirt jumper at heart, I do like my bike to be set up probably a lot stiffer than your average Joe to get her out of the rack, because I've done all the checks that we need to in here. What a dream. Final piece of the jigsaw puzzle anyway. So obviously check your grips are okay. The front tyre is tubeless, but just before my crash I'd actually just redone it, so I know that doesn't need topping up. Grips are all good. They're at a perfect sort of wear stage where they've gone nice and sticky and they feel good on your hands. I'm literally just gonna sort of sit here now. I don't even need to adjust it anyway because it's all fine, but just check that everything is in the right place again, because again, you don't want to get up a trail or something, or get out on your bike for the first time and one lever's moved somehow or something like that's happened. But I think that feels all good and everything's there. So one last job to do. There we have it, the bike's now clean, it's ready to go, which I am so excited about. But that is, I mean, I don't just look after my bikes when I'm about to ride them again, I look after them all the time. And that is pretty much a basic maintenance routine that I do. It doesn't take that long. And it just means that you've got a fresh dialed bike, and I don't think there's any better feeling, apart from actually riding the bike, there's no better feeling than getting on it in the morning and it feels fresh. So I hope that you've managed to sort of learn something by watching me prepare it for the comeback. If you've enjoyed this one, give us a thumbs up, leave some comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video.